sis?
Girl, I don't know, maybe some greens and some
Some greens and
Come
some
on,
neck
greens. And
bones.
some neck
ooh,
bones.
some
Yeah.
oxtail.
Oh, Lord. With some
Mm.
hot sauce.
Oh
Ooh.
my god.
I might have to cook y'all some. Y'all want
Okay,
some?
Come
Y'all want
on.
some?
Yes.
You gonna have
Yes.
to.
Okay.
One time for the greens, huh?
Come on, come on, come
One
on.
time for the oxtail.
Come on.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Hello, guys. I'm Lorenza Nicole Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen. La Reina Mariposa Negra, and this is View from the Throne. Welcome back to the throne, guys. As you see, I am not alone today. This has been a long awaited. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Hey.
We have Tara Ross right here.
What's up? What's up?
Yes, she is my co-host, guest co-host today. I'm so excited to have her with us today. Her presence, her grace, her humor is all here. And so God, thank you for it, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, here we have
The
Breanna Standifer.
AKA Breezy Bree.
Okay, Breezy Bree. And we're excited. Brianna just wrote a book that came out earlier this month, and we are excited about it. It's Mom Dreams, Mom Life to Dream Life.
Yes.
And I'm reading it, and it is so good. I'm
Thank
laughing.
you.
I am being challenged. And I was like, oh yeah, let's get in here and let's support another sister. And then, woo, sis is taking me down a counseling session at home.
Yes, she is.
And
I would
so-
agree. I would definitely agree with that.
I was like, so you just in my business,
I
clearly.
wasn't trying to be. I promise.
Okay. And it's crazy how we have that it has that ability.
Yeah.
But before we get into the book, because we got many things
Many
that we
things.
want about this book. Hold on, I want to
Yes.
scoot this. Y'all need to scoot this up? Y'all good? Okay. Okay. So we are also here at Woman Evolve this year.
Yeah.
Woman Evolve, we wow. My first time was last year. Was that y'all's
Yes.
too?
Those are my first time
My
too.
first time as well.
And the experience I documented, I posted a couple of things from it last year on my Instagram and things like that. So if you want to see that, go to Instagram and you can see those things. You know, some things are only going to be on certain pages, so you got to follow all my pages to
Come
get
on.
all the things.
Follow all the
Yeah.
pages.
Lorenza Nicole on all sites. Thank you, Lorenza Nicole Molina. And so, yeah, so I did that. But anyway, we are back and we are excited. So I would just want to jump off with Tara. How are you? What do you feel like you got out of Women Evolve last year?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So last year was my first time at Woman Evolve. And I don't even know what my expectations were then. I just know that I was in a space, living my truth, like my true identity. Like God had told me that He was going to restore, me back to the original intention, like His original plan for my life. And it started earlier that year. He started purging things out of me, things that no longer serve me, whether it was people, places, things.
Yeah.
And so from there, we all decided, hey, Sarah Jakes is our girl. She has been speaking into our life on many different aspects,
Yes.
giving us language for where we were. She is like that powerhouse, like in this,
Yes,
this era
ma'am.
right now. She's that
Yes, ma'am.
voice. And so we all decided to go, and we went. And I think afterwards, I ended up in therapy.
I ended up in therapy.
I ended up in therapy because I realized there was some things that I needed to continue to work on. And my therapist was actually surprised. She was like, you have done a lot of work before you even got to me, but there was some more things that I needed to highlight and to bring to perspective and give language for. And then I closed that chapter, and here we are.
Yes.
What about you, Lorenza?
Nicole.
Well, before we get to me, because I'm always talking. Always.
Well, God gave you a voice.
That's what you supposed to do.
Hallelujah. Yes, he did.
in this platform.
Yes, he did. But since I am at home, but you guys are my guests, it's only polite for me to
Ask all the
Um,
questions.
ask all the questions. But I will say, since you are my guest host, you did ask. So respectfully, I want to respond.
Respectfully.
Yes, because you got to be obedient. Hello, child. Let
Well,
me
we got
listen.
and that's another topic. We're definitely gonna dive into
Yeah,
that.
we
So,
have to.
Okay,
what
We
did you
have
feel
to.
like you gained from Woman Evolve last year, or like where were you when you decided to go?
When I went, I was in a place where I was just like desperate for God.
Mm.
And I can't really put my thumb on it. When okay just is not okay.
Yeah, it's not enough.
It's not enough. It's just
Yeah.
like, well, this is okay. I should be excited. This is okay, especially when you've been through a lot of things. And child, those are several movies. Okay.
Hey,
But I think I was just desperate for some change. I was desperate for some healing, desperate for some things breaking off because I was feeling something that I had no language for.
Yeah.
And when I got to Woman Evolve, things were revealed. And I felt so seen by God. Like, I know God watches me and covers me. And I know he knows me and I know he does see me. But it was so many direct things. And it wasn't just Sarah or the women on the panel, but it was the women that were around us, our other friends that were with us. Some of them are with us now and that were there last year and just praying for me. I made a friend at Women Evolve. I made some friends at Women Evolve and praying for me, not knowing me, and me being grateful for that because I know it's hard for me to be open to people sometimes. And so I really appreciate it. I mean, I had countless women coming up to me, but the revelation that I wasn't crazy. There were some things that I had lived with and it was my norm, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't healthy on the inside. And this is the thing, because we come from so many generations of pain.
Yeah.
We don't know what's not normal. We just know that we gotta keep going. Life is life. We just chalk it up to life, chalk it up to life. And some things aren't just chalking it up to life. Some things are spiritual attacks.
Yeah, they are. You're
And God revealing a lot of those things that I had been fighting blindly, not knowing its name, but it knew who I was. I had felt like a target on my back in the spirit, and God removed it. So that was, I felt lighter, let me say. And that's when healing began in me, because healing doesn't start in the body, it starts in the mind and in the spirit. And I am most definitely different today.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. One of the things I can add to that is we were so caught up in worship in Woman Evolve last year, and God allowed me to witness our sister here as she was praying. Smoke came out of her mouth, but God only allowed me to see it because I was telling everybody,
Did
like,
you
did
see
y'all
it?
see it?
No, Tara, we
Did
did
y'all
not
see
see it.
it? Oh my
did
God!
not
Did
see
y'all? So, but every time I go back to that moment, I go back to that moment because I'm just thinking about, like, when God in the Bible, when he talks to, different people, Moses or whatever, and he talks about how powerful his glory is. That was a representation in front of my face. And he had told me that, he was going to heal you, in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's, obviously there was a deep revelation of worship that you went to be able to experience that. But to be able to experience that sitting on the side of you was like, oh my God, like,
This is
Lord,
And you're my
thank
witness
you.
that I wasn't crazy in
Yeah.
that moment.
Absolutely. So people, you're not crazy when things look a little bit different than what we're used to. You're not crazy. God's revelation sometimes is crazy, but we just don't know it all the time. So you're not crazy.
You're not crazy.
You not crazy. No.
No.
Well, Miss Breanna Standifer, author,
Arthur.
community leader, and business owner, entrepreneur.
Oh God.
Black Gold, what's up?
Hey sis.
Hey, sis. How was yours?
Oh man. I was in a really big transitional place in my life, in my family. I was grieving, um, and I was also pursuing God. I had started a process in January of last year of pursuing this mom dream, starting the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you start a thing that God lays on your heart, that is when the biggest attacks come. And it's always on the things that matter to you the most. And interesting, the group Mom Dreams, my family is everything. My focus on my family is what I guess hindered or allowed to hinder me pursuing things sooner. And so when I finally decided to make the decision, okay, I'm gonna do it now. It was January of 23, and the hardest trial that we have ever experienced happened. And God looked at me and He said, "Are you gonna still do it?" And so in September, I was still struggling with the sorrow, the grief, and my obedience. And so I feel like in that space, I did get language for where I was. It was permission to still be in grief and working through that, but also choosing not just God. I was pursuing God, praying. I do those things, but choosing purpose. And sometimes it is hard to choose purpose when the things that you value are a mess. Because you feel like you have to choose. Like, I can't possibly pursue this right now
Selfish choice.
because my family is broken. How do I prioritize purpose over that? So when I left that space, and I was in therapy, and we still meet at least once a month. Because that is still happening. That situation is not resolved. There is no resolution. But it gave me a different type of strength
Yes.
because I have always chosen others over purpose because I felt like that was my priority. And I'm not saying my family is not my purpose. It's a part of my purpose.
It's a part.
And so I always felt like I had to choose. And in that moment, I said, no. We set a date. It was on the calendar. Just because this is happening doesn't mean you stop. That means you push harder because you have to complete this. And you're on a timeline.
That's right.
Child.
On a time.
You're on borrowed time.
Put me on a timeline.
We are on borrowed time.
I'm like, bruh, that is rude. I call God rude. I love God. That's my
But he
daddy.
be rude.
But he be rude.
You still gonna have to do it anyway.
He's so rude.
I know
Mad and all.
that he told me that
Mad
personally.
and all.
Sad, mad, hurt,
Whatever.
a
And
mess.
I said this like when I was doing this podcast, losing my friend, who I've learned so much from, photographer, videographer. He has a movie out that he didn't even get to see come to theaters, and when I found out he passed, and I had to. The same day, not even a few hours later, I'm sitting in the bed at 3 a.m. and trying to process what I just heard. And God said in a still small voice, like he did with Elijah, Jesus said, you still got to go do the podcast. I said, that can't be God. That can't. I'm done.
And what are
I
the
don't
other
wanna
options?
What are
That
the
can't
other
be God.
options? He said, you still going to have to go do it. And I was like, what is that?
Trying to fly
What is
Trying to shoot away.
What is that?
That's not Jesus.
Listen,
Jesus, that can't
it's
be
a
you,
small, strong
Jesus
voice.
I
You
know.
ain't crazy when you hear it.
The Jesus I know gives hugs in this
Yeah,
moment.
compassion in these moments.
Not.
Comfort me, Lord.
not. He said, I have many sides you have yet to discover. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
But did I hear correctly? You did.
Yes.
You know my voice. I do.
Do
I
it
know.
anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in mid cry. I was like, what? I can't. No, but why?
And we are allowed to ask that question.
And all you got was a that ugly cry with the
No words.
No
No
words.
words.
Come on.
I felt disrespected, but I knew it had to be my problem since God is perfect.
It had to be your problem. And that's why he rude.
Listen.
That's why he rude.
Listen. Listen.
Child.
He be rude.
I do want to pick up on something you said. You said, grieving and still having to do purpose. People. This is hard. This is a hard place.
Yeah,
Yes,
To
it
grieve
is.
and still be in purpose.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
To be a mother and still do purpose. Because you don't know what your kids are going to encounter. You don't know what your marriage is going to encounter.
Yeah.
And still have to show up in purpose. And one of the things that God revealed to me over time is it is because that they're going to have one too. That they're going to eventually have to discover. And we can't get in the way of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like nobody can get in the way of our purpose. We can't get in the way of their purpose
That
too.
part.
Yeah.
And because ultimately he made us and he created us and we're here for a specific reason is why we still got to show up in that space.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't get to choose. You know,
don't.
God was in grief and he asked God to take this cup from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I
he
asked
said, Lord, but more of the less, not my will, but
Your
yours.
will be done. Yeah.
So
Your will.
when we get into those places,
As we sit here in his
sit here
As we sit here in his one of them.
will. One of them.
with tears, with madness,
Do it
with
again.
sadness,
Do it anyway.
do it anyway. You'd rather be obedient and see the reward of that than to be disobedient
Yes.
and not even. Then you still begging God to show you instructions, but you ain't did the last thing He told you to do.
Okay.
And sometimes we forget that our obedience is not about us.
Oh, that part.
I think about in that space of me navigating it and doing it anyway, showing up in spaces, not just at
Yeah.
home, at work, encouraging people, and then they find out what you're going through, like from someone or whatever, and they're like, you were going through that and you encouraged me, you were going through that. And all it is you have to point it back to God. Like there's no way I can do this in myself, in my own
No way.
strength. But I
Absolutely
think when we remember that it's not about me, like this moment, this grief, this sorrow, the situation is going to pass.
Yes.
But in the passing, somebody needs something from the Lord. So
Yeah.
how dare you not allow him to use you to send? He has to have hands and feet.
Yes.
That's how he gets his purpose in the earth. So how dare you stop his purpose because you're having a moment that will potentially pass and
This too shall
save
pass.
someone, and not necessarily. And I'm not just talking about save someone as far as getting saved. I'm talking about keeping someone from making a bad decision, keeping someone from
Yes.
committing suicide, keeping
That
someone
part.
from missing their purpose. Like we forget in those moments when we are in deep grief,
Yes.
and it's hard to hear God's voice that it's not
Yes.
about me.
It's not about
It
me.
is,
But it's not. Not in the way. This is the difference between living in your flesh and living in humanity.
Yeah.
See, living in your flesh is my personal truth. It's my way. It's my mindset. But when you live in your humanity, you're saying, you know what, God, you are. This is bigger than me. So are you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be more than what I am, and I know that I am not up to this by myself. I know that it's going to take you working through my imperfections.
Ugh.
It's going to take me being visible in my imperfections for you to truly get glory.
Yeah.
See, I was watching Jackie Hill.
I love
And
it.
Jackie Hill was talking about today's believers, how we are become Christian narcissists,
Oof.
how we become we're so self-centered, and we have so many sermons about how we are. God's gonna do this for you. It's for you. And she said we're forgetting that we're a body and we're part of a bigger picture. Pretty much in a nutshell is what she was saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lord, that's a hard pill to
That is a
swallow
hard
pill. Forgive me,
because
Lord.
because this world was ticking before we was licking. You know what I'm saying? I said it.
It was.
Take it how you want. Take it how you want. Okay. But child, I went back to grandma. I
You
really
tapped
did.
in. That was-
I did.
That was great.
Yeah,
And
that
sister
was-
said,
that was-
I wanna say something real quick. Am I on yet? No, I'm just playing. But we are so self-involved that we can't see outside of God. God told me your feelings matter. but at the same time, they don't matter above my will.
Ugh.
That's right.
And this is the thing, your feelings lie to you. So my will is also for your good.
Yeah.
So when I give you something to do, it's not just
A
I'm
pretty
being
little thing.
unfair. I'm being God.
Yeah.
And I see more than you see.
That part.
I explained it to my children like this. I said, you know how we could see a parade coming, and we're on our corner, and we're like, "Ooh, yes, this balloon, oh, boo, that balloon," or
Yeah.
all the things, and you're waiting for your balloon to come, and you're like, "Is it ever going to come?" And God, in the meantime, has a bird's eye view, and He can see the whole parade.
Yeah.
And He's like, if you can just stay in position,
That part.
you will see. Don't start moving around looking for something that's already on its way. The only
That's a
way
whole
you can
word.
have it is staying in position.
That's good.
You can't have it going down Main Street over here in another city. You can only have it in Main Street in this city. See, the names look the same,
They
but they're
look
not
the
the same
same.
They're not
place.
the same
So
position.
people like to make excuses and say, "Oh, but I'm doing it, God." He said, "But you're not doing it the way I told you. And since you're not doing it the way I told you, you're not in the path
That's right.
because
you're
you're
not
not in the
doing it.
way. Okay, you're not doing it." And so what I learned this year was God is very clear that I'm hurt. He knows it. But He loves me so much He won't let me sit in it.
That's
Ugh.
right.
Now that,
That's true.
who just
I
let
would
me,
agree.
I want to sit. Let me sit for a minute.
I would agree. I
I want to roll around in it a
Yeah, I
little
want
bit.
to wallow in it, back
Just a mud bath,
in
do
it.
Yeah, I literally had to make that decision coming here because I didn't want it to rob me of what God want to do in my life.
Yeah.
You know, because it can be a robber if
Yes,
you allow
it really
to.
can.
If you sit in things too long, it'll rob you of what
Yes, it
God wants
will.
to do with you, through you, because you can't see past just that hurt or whatever it is. You know, you can't see past that. And I said, Lord, I don't want. I've been in that place before where I've held grudges. Well, I think we've all been in that place.
Yeah.
And you realize how much time has went by. You know, when you holding that grudge, you're like, dang,
It's been a minute.
it's been
Yeah.
a minute. You know what I'm saying?
People have died.
Yeah.
holding grudges.
And
Holding
they carrying
grudges, and
on.
some people have died that you had a grudge with. What you gonna do now? They dead.
And you still
I'm not trying to be
holding on to it.
insensitive, but
Yeah.
I'm saying
No, it's real.
they
That's
they
real.
they done let go of everything they needed to. Went on to glory. They over there frolicking with the Lord, and you
If
just
they are in
mad.
glory.
Yeah, but then you make the grief part. You make the grief process
Well.
harder when you do that.
Yeah.
When you don't let go, because the Bible tells us clearly that we don't know the time nor the hour. So why are we sitting here holding grudges? You know, if we don't know,
That part.
let it go. And
That
the Bible
part.
also tell us you have an ought with your brother and sister to go fix it. Because anything we try to offer to him, it ain't gonna be no good.
You right.
Because you have to go fix it first.
It's
And
crazy.
so, and I'm taking my own advice
Come on,
because
Lashley.
I felt hurt in a situation, you know, or whatever. But I just realized, is it really that important? Sometimes we get so caught up in what, especially like people supporting us or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So many people have showed up, and you worried about these few that didn't show up.
That part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the,
You know what I mean?
And you don't know why
and we
people can't.
know, and we do
That's true.
understand, like, there are just some people in our lives that hold a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? You hold
Yeah.
them to a, not
Higher
necessarily a
standard.
higher, yes, a higher standard, but not in a way like they on a pedestal, but just like, you mean this to me in my life. I know you gonna be here. You know, you kind of feel disappointed when they don't, but I rather choose joy
Yeah.
than
Oh.
to choose a grudge.
Well, that's true. And we should.
Wait.
Let me hold on.
In this moment, you gonna process
In this
that
moment, you gonna process.
We gonna let
I'm
you
processing.
process. We need a
It's
moment of silence
crazy
for your joy.
Because Sunday I woke up and the scripture, you know, your little daily random devotional.
But are they really random?
Are they really random? So I was feeling some type of a way. And I woke up. I didn't even have time to really feel some type of way. Have you ever like started to be upset? And God was like, you know what? You don't even get to be completely upset.
You know why?
I'm not even gonna let that seed fully set in. I'm like, no, let's sit in just a little bit.
Just for a
Just
moment.
let it buffer a little bit, Lord. You know what I'm saying? And so I woke up and I was thinking,
smacked you right in the face.
it did. It said, "Hey,
Good
little
morning.
mama, let me whisper in your ear." I said, "Oh man." God said, let it go. Because if you don't let it go, you're going to hinder what I'm trying to do with you this week. You said you wanted something new. This is part of the path.
Yeah.
You have to let things go. And then furthermore, I was like, yeah, okay, God. Yeah. Okay. But just give me today to do. Don't take my life. Okay. You know how you like, we're on borrowed time. I was having a whole moment. I was like, I know today is not fully promised, but if you could just let me have some time to process. And then what happened was I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I processed it. He allowed me to have my time. I said, thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
And the next day, I woke up to another scripture about forgiveness. I said, okay. All right. I said I was good.
He said, let me make sure.
He
Yeah,
said,
let me make
now
sure."
read the whole chapter. I said, yes, sir. And I did. And I read down to where it was about when Jesus' resurrection, and Mary Magdalene was the one at the tomb, and how she rose early, like the woman, Proverbs 31 woman. I just want to mention that we know who Mary Magdalene was, but she rose early like that Proverbs 31 woman. Her action spoke louder than what happened to her. Let me just say that in that moment, in her past. And she rose early and the tomb was empty. And I want to highlight that point because it says that Jesus is going to be coming back like a thief in the night. In that moment, he rose in the night. He ain't afraid of the dark afraid of him. Do you understand?
Come on.
And so I went further down, and when she had told the disciples and all that, they came in and running and all this stuff. You know how they can be. You know how people can be a little dramatic because they like, he alive. They saw Lazarus rise, so they're just like, what's going on? He ends up appearing to them later. This is before the upper room experience.
Yes, it was.
And he spoke to them and he told them, receive the Holy Spirit. And he blew on them. And he also told them, if you forgive your brother, they will be forgiven. If you do not, you will hold them up in unforgiveness. And because he gave us the power to forgive, that's a power.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's more than just because people have first of all, let's just make something really clear about what forgiveness is not and what it actually is. Forgiveness ain't that person that is really damaging you emotionally. Be like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore it and I'm just gonna try to smile
we're not
anyway.
telling you to
No.
to succumb to anything.
Yes, yeah. Do not succumb to everything, because the thing about it is it's okay to speak with power and authority to somebody who is out of line concerning your life. First of all, you are a gift to the world. God says all children are a gift. Well, since he continues to call us his children, that means you are a continual gift in this world. So if people are taking the gift that you are for granted, meaning you are also a borrowed gift, they do not have the right to have access to your mind, your spirit, your body. So I'm just saying that you don't need to keep subjecting yourself to ridicule and people disrespecting you because you're trying to be forgiven. Be forgiving is not ignoring the wrong.
That's right.
It's addressing it. It's addressing it, bringing it to them, letting them know that they're wrong. If they decide not to do what they need to do, you giving that to God and leaving them where they are. And you continue to live the life that he gave you, because this is the thing. You don't know how old you are in your life. And I said this last time. You could be 31 right now thinking you got 30 more years and you got 2. You real old. You a great granddaddy, grandmommy somewhere. That's how old you are right now. You could be 31 and you're not going to go until you 102. You a baby. You just showed up. You don't know what time you have. And you're letting people rob you of your breath when you complain about them, you're mad about them, you're upset about them. And it's not that you don't need to vent, but you are robbing yourself of the breath. What if your life was counted by the breaths you breathe? And what if the last breath you breathed was, I can't stand them? Because you gave it away to unforgiveness.
Whew.
You cannot subject yourself to continue ridicule. It's not okay. It's not healthy. God doesn't like it. God puts people in their place all the time. And you can't stand up for yourself. God will give you the words. He will give you holy boldness. I didn't always know how to stand up for myself.
That's true.
But at the same time, sometimes God will tell you, don't say nothing, just move around, because your actions to that person will actually speak louder. And your action to the spirit behind them will speak louder, because God likes to confuse the enemy. The enemy thinks he knows you so well because all the buttons he pushed, he put in you. Those buttons didn't come with you. He put those things there so that he can pull the strings. He doesn't really know you. He just knows what he planted in you. So when he uses certain people, you have to look beyond what they're doing and say, okay, what is going on? And this is what you pray. Just this is what you pray. God, help me to hear your spirit. Help me to hear what your mind, how you understand things. Give me a strategy, which is wisdom, on how to deal with it, and to give me the strength to do it. Give me the songs that I need to sing. Give me the prayers I need to pray, because in singing is strength. In praise and worship is strength. A lot of people like that. I don't do that. Well, I mean, do you stop at the red light?
I don't do that.
Not all the time, and then you always risk getting hit. Right? That's a everybody rule. That's not.
That's
Oh,
just
you
not one
sing.
person.
That's not one person, because God inhabits the praises of His people.
That's right.
Praise and worship. Praise is a sacrifice. When you cooking something good in the kitchen and somebody cooking something good, you get up. You like, what you cooking in here? What you throwing down?
Throw it down.
When you sing to God from your heart, you can sound ratchet as all get out. People can have a messy kitchen, but that chicken will turn out great. That's how praise and worship is to God. It's a sweet smell, he says. It smells good. He doesn't want any, hey, I don't know who that is because I can't see, but hey, I think is that Carlos?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey. So God says it's a sweet smell. So it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if it looks sloppy. It doesn't matter if it looks loud, it looks unorthodox, it looks whatever. It's yours and it's his, and it is nobody's business. And if you want to praise in front of everybody, guess what? They just get to meet the side of God that you know that they haven't met yet.
That's good.
So don't be ashamed of it. But what y'all got to say?
I'm gonna go back to when you talked about forgiveness and not succumbing to the treatment of those people that you have to forgive. And I heard this
Hold on
said.
a second. Can we stand up and scoot this side up? Because it's hurting my butt. I'm sorry, guys. 1, 2, 3, and scoop. There we go. All right, I'm good. Go ahead.
I heard someone say that forgiveness is not necessarily reconciliation.
That part.
And I think that we have been taught that because we forgive someone, that means that they should have the same access to us. And I think it's important to be able to recognize when access to us is unhealthy. And I will tell you, God limits access
Yes, he does.
from certain people. He will give them an opportunity to change their hearts. He will give them an opportunity to do things differently. Many times in that process of forgiveness, when you do choose reconciliation and there is continuously no change, sometimes it's not us that has to say that's enough. Sometimes God will say that's enough.
Yeah.
And I think that we feel sometimes as believers that that's wrong, or that's we're mistreating them, or that's not Christian like. But everybody didn't have access to Jesus.
Nope.
He healed people, but he had 12 that was in his inner circle. And sometimes when he had to go up and have special encounters with God, it was only a few, a select few.
That part.
That is a model for how our lives should be.
Absolutely. I would
It
agree.
does not mean that people should have the same access, because people will misuse that access, and also God will get people that interfere with your purpose and his
He
will
will.
for your life.
He will.
And so I have learned that it's sometimes better to create the boundaries that he is leading me to create than to wait, because sometimes we're the forgiver is sometimes the problem.
We enablers.
We
sometimes.
are enablers, and not only that, sometimes removing access to us turns them towards the Lord, because there are some situations, even when people don't treat you well, that you become their God. They come to you when they need something. They come to you when they need advice. They come to you instead of going to the Lord. And sometimes he will allow things to occur so that they can go to him. He is the source. And he's
Yeah.
a jealous God. And sometimes in our goodwill, our motives are pure. But it doesn't mean because my motive was not impure that what I'm doing is what's needed or what's right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we use wisdom in those spaces. It's not the same for every person.
No.
And sometimes it's the one that needs to forgive.
Yeah.
And sometimes reconciliation is very, very possible.
Oh yeah.
And we have to give people an opportunity to acknowledge their wrong and change behavior. And I'm not saying change behavior overnight, because if that is a part of who they are, it may take some time. But what is
Exactly.
where's their heart?
Where's their heart?
Where's their motive? Those things matter. And sometimes if we don't spend time in our word, we don't spend time with the Lord, we don't have the ability to assess those things. And those are important in relationships, friends, family, all the above. And sometimes our expectations of people get us in trouble.
Child.
They don't have what you want from them.
Yeah.
You are placing yourself in that situation because you are expecting from them something that they don't have. Release your expectation of them. And whatever that need is that you have, allow God to meet that need. He meets every need. Sometimes he uses people, but sometimes we put expectations on people. They don't have it.
They just don't.
They don't have, and
They
it's
don't have
okay.
capacity, and it's not. And
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. God will send another person, or he will do it himself.
And people have to understand that. Excuse me, but people have to understand that God says, "Taste and see." Right? When you are getting something from somebody, it's because God is letting you taste Him.
Through them.
And
Yeah.
so literally he's giving you a sample off their plate. But you have your own table. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna give you this Pringle." And if you really like that, you got to go in there and buy your own.
That part.
They only have so many Pringles.
Yeah, they're
in
not
their
your
thing.
source. They cannot be your source.
And they really didn't want to give you that Pringle.
That Pringle was a sacrifice.
And some people be like, "I got a little bit of crumbs. Maybe we can share it." And God like, "Close the Pringle lid." But we sit there and we take. He just.
Listen, y'all.
Just
Y'all gonna get some teaching from sis. Okay, her analogies be off the chain. Close the Pringle lid.
Close the
That's
lid.
a whole word for somebody.
Close the
your
lid.
Pringle lid.
Close your Pringle lid. And this is also why, because when you have your lid open, you have hands grabbing, and hands carry germs.
Absolutely.
We don't know. Yeah, did you wash your fingers? We don't know what your fingers mean. Yeah, your parents like, "I don't know what your fingers mean." That's my auntie say, "I don't know what your fingers mean, baby. You need to go wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
I love you, but I don't love that dirt on your fingers." And so that makes me go to the point where we talk about righteous anger, because if Jesus flipped tables in the temple, people misunderstand this so much. This thing. When he flipped tables, it wasn't just the disobedience that was blatant and obvious. It was also because we are temples, and so and he was the temple that was broken down and raised up. And it's like when people try to misuse God like he a genie. Who's that? Is that Zendel?
Yeah, it is.
Hey girl, when people try to misuse God like he's a genie. Okay, guys. So what had happened was, and he's like, no. When you keep trying to misuse God, trying to use the name of God for His will, and God is flipping tables now. If you've seen the downfall of so many people, and you know who they are, you've seen the downfall of many people. Some of you are in your life. Some of them are around you. You're glad you didn't take the path with them. You dodged so many bullets. See, Satan can give fake blessings too. He loves giving fool's gold that when you turn it in for exchange, it ain't worth a thing. And you ended up, only thing you could do is go in the back, wash dishes for an eternity. We don't want that, okay? And so the thing about it, when Jesus flipped tables, all I thought about was when people put things in us that was never supposed to be there, and they keep trying to use our gifts, pimp out our gifts for their gain, pimp out who we are, prostitute our gifts and our talents for what we are. We're just going to set up shop here. God has a righteous anger. And if God is angry about something and you keep making excuses for the person, then you need to look a little deeper in your own heart and ask, why am I making this okay? Why do I have a need to be needed by people? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be able to meet a need, or wanting to be an answer or hope for somebody, wanting to show up and love somebody. But it's wrong when you do it from a broken place to satisfy it's like a Band-Aid. I'm just going to keep putting a Band-Aid on it. I'm going to keep drinking a little bit. People are addicted to food. People are addicted to alcohol, and people are addicted to being the one that's needed. I need to be needed so I can feel validated, so I can feel important. When really, and this is what I mean by flesh and humanity, is when in our flesh we do that. But in humanity, we will show up as a need with the precision of God. Ooh. And when we do it, we don't do it out of our own will, which actually covers us from the emotional damage that we got all the time beforehand. Well, I can't believe they kept using me like this. But you kept answering the phone. Now you know not to answer the phone, because you know that there's a time for everything. And once you give your life over to God, you give him your time. Yes, you give him your problems. You give him your illnesses. You give him everything. And all of it's used for the glory of God. But guess what? It's also used for your betterment too. And so everything all of a sudden becomes a timeline. It becomes on a time and precision. And so God doesn't want people just sticking their nasty, dirty fingers all in your Pringle can. But if he tells you to take out,
close that top.
If he says stick your own hand in and give them the Pringle, that's a different position. And that's the difference between living in your flesh and living in your humanity. We need to be human. Jesus came so we can understand how to be human and also move like God at the same time. And the good thing about this is, see, Jesus, he was perfect, but he's showing us that he is so big that it doesn't matter how bad you messed up. It doesn't matter how bad you think it is, that he loves the imperfect spaces, because he gets to fill all the gaps. God loves being the main answer. He loves being the hero. He loves having the opportunity to love you, not because he needs bragging rights. Hey, look who's there. Not because he needs bragging rights, but because he desires us. People's like, I don't know what my purpose is. Let me tell you what your purpose is. Your first purpose ever was to have relationship with God. That's right. That's your purpose. Now, your gifts and your talents are abilities that make room for you so that you can conquer land. This is why gifts and talents come without repentance, because they make room for you. You don't always get access to land, but you always have access to your gifts. Your gifts are there to make room for you so that you can meet people in certain spaces and connect to them. And that becomes your platform, the rooms that you walk in. So your gift and your talents make room for you, and the room that you're in becomes the platform so that the relationship you have with God can be reflected in that room. And however it needs to be reflected through your humanity as a believer, not your flesh, as somebody who says, only God can judge me, yo. Let me tell you something. Everybody's judging. We all can actually judge you. We all have been judged. And it does make a difference to the soul who is looking, because not everybody reads a book, not everybody goes to church, but the church should be going to everybody. So when people sitting here trying to tell you your gift is unorthodox, or you need to do it differently, or you too saved, or you too religious, or you too, okay, well, I'm just too much for you. Okay. Clearly I'm just too much for you. And that's fine. Take your little tutu and go praise the Lord somewhere else. You have the right to not get it. But I have to be okay with walking among wolves, because there's some sheep that are lost. Yeah. So I'm not here for the wolves. But you know what the wolves will do?
What they gonna do?
Girl, let me tell you how haters will pay the way for the believers.
Come on.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to ask y'all some questions. So haters, people always talk about, hey, they're going to pay my way. And we talk about the Christian religion, but the Christian religion was spread through hate. was spread through pain, was spread through a lot of things, and people don't get it. Why would God allow this, that, and the other? Because they the main ones gossiping and moving and shifting and shaking. They're going to get that word out. He wants us to get it out. He wants us to be a good example in the process of this. But he allowed it to happen because he's the one that needs to bring the understanding among all the confusion. He confused the languages, and he allowed people who wanted to try to put tables in his temple to take the belief system and use it over people and push people to do what they want to do and use it as control. He allowed them to build their tables for only so long. But now he got to flip tables. He about to flip tables for his name. He's about to flip tables for those who he's called by their name. And God don't call you by the name that your mama and them called you. He called you by the name he gave you before you even were in time. And when he calls you by that name, you will know it. You will never have heard it before, but you will know it like you heard it your whole life. It's a unique name. So you don't answer to what they called you, what they said about you. He don't care about what they said. He said, what's that have to do with what I call you? I made you. And whatever somebody else, whatever hands they put into your can, all the chips that they rob, God will refill you. He will give you 10 times that, because it is time for healing. It's time to walk into new rooms. It's time to accept the reality that you can't stay where you've been. No matter what side of the fence you're on, if you're the one building tables, if you're the one that bought something from the table, if you're the one who flipped tables and you tired like God is, we're all going through a change, but God is removing something, and just like the sun shines, we all see it, but it affects us differently. How is it going to affect you? Look at your heart and you'll know.
That's good.
Okay, so Miss
That's
Tara,
good. Yes, ma'am.
what you got to say about flipping tables?
Flipping tables. If I could be honest, like I just got to a place where God started teaching me about righteous anger. Because you can be so frustrated at things. And I started to learn that like some emotions that we do have is sometimes it's the way God is feeling about things too.
That's right.
You
That
know
is
what I'm
true.
saying? It's like our emotions are not to control us. Now when they start to lie to us or we just, in our feelings like we say, then that's what we gotta like navigate between humanity and feelings. But sometimes there are things that upset us that's upsetting God too. And that's his righteous anger. Like that's okay. I had to learn that. I do want to back up when you start talking about unforgiveness. One of the things that God told me, just reading his word or whatever, is that he don't know he don't know unforgiveness. He doesn't know it. You know why? If we go back to, what we read about when Jesus was getting ready to be resurrected, he said, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. So he never knew any unforgiveness. Like he knew what he had to die for. A filthy rag like us,
Yeah.
like me. You know what I mean? Girl. So he knows no unforgiveness. So we should know it. Again, y'all are right. We should not succumb to things like people mistreating us. We draw that line. Okay, then I know I can no longer deal with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can speak to you and still have peace. My
Yeah.
peace and
And
go on
love
about
you.
my business and still love you as a person.
Yeah.
And then just pray over your heart, whatever that is. Because maybe it don't have anything to do with me. Or maybe sometimes we
Most of the time they
remind,
don't.
our personalities can remind us of certain people who have hurt somebody. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Regardless if we like, I know I'm nice, I'm a good person, I'm not mistreating them. Well, maybe I remind you of somebody. I don't know. So but
I thought about that.
God doesn't know, or Jesus doesn't know any unforgiveness. So
Yeah.
that's not something he wants us to know. So that's just something that I started to work through too. And the righteous anger part, absolutely. Like it's just to gauge how God feel about certain things. Like some things upset God. Like
Yeah.
we know, you
Yeah.
know. So just think about people that hurt children. You know what I mean? What that does to our heart. Can we imagine what it does to his
That part.
when he created us?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
in innocent children. Like, what's the purpose behind that? But we know people are not right here. So that's what leads to that. So,
It's crazy.
so many topics.
It's crazy how we're literally outside and his son has said behind us, and hey, whoever you are, I'm trying to see. I wish I should have put my glasses on.
That's Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Jesus holds that whip by hand. Is that what they say?
What he said? My tablet's not up, so I didn't. Yeah, it's not working. But I'm just thinking about how this for because of our humanity, we have to constantly be reminded and shown our hearts like a mirror
Yeah.
to forgive. But because of the call, we have to be more willing to live the lifestyle so that our hearts are easier and equipped to forgive. God is raising people up in the dark. This is an example right now because here we are. It's getting darker as we talk, and I think God is trying to raise people up to another. He's trying to show us something like some things can't be seen until it is dark enough. Some things can't be seen until it's dark enough. And I just believe that you forgiveness is also a surrender.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's
It definitely is.
and it's ironic because this is what the topic is for Women Evolve. And this whole year has been the practice for whatever we need it to be. And this is what forgiveness will do: will rob you of all the work you've ever done. You know, in school when you have to go 12 grades, but they say if you don't pass the state test, you don't get to graduate. So what was the 12 grades for? That's what unforgiveness feels like. It feels like all of a sudden there's this test that's trying to rob all the work you've ever done and undermine it and make it seem like nothing. But meanwhile, you were stressed. You had to push. You had to do this. And God is saying, don't let the one thing, that unforgiveness in your heart, keep you from your graduation.
Yeah.
That's right.
We are now here. God has taken us all the way back. We are different people.
From a
Bria's
year
wrote a
ago.
book. Sis, you a whole minister. And God, I mean, y'all have your own businesses. We all have our own businesses now. And it's like I wasn't looking. I was just like, God help me. That's all I was at. And it's been a peeling of an onion.
Yeah.
We are talking about what we know. We're not talking like just
don't know.
pointing down on it. We're talking about what we know, what we've had to do to be where we are right now. And you may not be able to really see it, really understand it, like we get it on the inside. But believe me, we are witnesses to what it looks like to continue to say yes to a surrender.
And I have to say that a main part of this process has been forgiveness. So what you will learn, because I want to talk a little bit about purpose, because most of the process is getting us to a place where he says, okay, now I can send you out. Now I can use you. And of course, you're in your humanity, you're going to make mistakes, but you are in a place where I can show what I have done in you. And so I would say a large part of this process has been forgiveness. A large part of this process has been him revealing our hearts. Like those, when he say, search my heart and reveal anything that's not good in it. And many times we think we're good people, and because we're kind or because we're compassionate or because we're giving or because we're loving, and those things are great. But all of us have areas in our hearts that need a touch from him or need healing. And I think in those spaces where we learn that we're not that good and that we're not that great, not to minimize who we are, but to remind us how much we need him. So I think that the reason we have been able to arrive in this place different, because we are completely different from who we were at this time last year. The conversations we have in our homes of like, this is an adjustment. Like our families are having to adjust to who we have become. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a reality of growth, that what we used to do, how we used to talk, how we used to see things has changed. But the root of that, where that started, it started at forgiveness. It started at releasing things that we were aware of and things that we were not aware of. And I think that sometimes when God shows us things or people point out our flaws, we get stuck there.
Yeah.
We get offended. We get angry because of what it's connected to, but it's in that place of release that it creates space for God. And so I would say that part of the woman involved experience, part of the surrender, is continuously staying in a posture of knowing that we don't have it all together. We don't have all the answers. And forgiveness has to be at the root, because we're going to get offended, we're going to get hurt. There are going to think things are going to happen because we live in an imperfect world. But how we manage those things is how people know we belong to God.
That's true.
And I think that space is where you thrive in purpose, because you can acknowledge where you fall short. You can acknowledge where you need work and you need growth, but you can also acknowledge the areas where you have grown, because you have been willing to give up those things that he points out.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I will add also, um, one of the things we were sharing, when we were sharing this podcast, was obedience, sacrifice, family. Some of us, we said, went to therapy or have a therapist.
Baby.
And that's
Mom Dreams
because
is my therapist right now.
I'm sorry. I'm
and
so sorry.
that's because for some of us, God is calling us to the area ourselves. So
Uh,
it's like a therapist needing a therapist, So
It is true.
So because we minister to people, so we also got to have accountability.
Yeah.
Ourselves,
that's so important.
So but obedience and sacrifice. I just want to like pause on and kind of hit on that. Like if we all go back, like even a year ago, 2 years ago, or whatever, we all know there were just some things that we had to give up. There were so many things that we had to give up, whether that
Absolutely.
was a certain identity, whether that's a certain mindset,
Yeah.
how you serve, are you doing it unto the Lord, or are you doing it for show? Just so
That,
many
yeah.
different navigations that you have to. Is it this or that?
Yeah.
This or that? If it doesn't lead back to God, then you know that there's some couple of things that you have to surrender.
Yeah.
And like
Is it God?
I did have the honor to be on Bree's guest blog,
Yeah.
and we talked about the renewal process. And one of the things I talked about was sitting on my bed and I told God that, like we said, we were done with being okay with things. God, I want what you want from me.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I look back, I could think of like all the things, and I know there's so many things I have to still work on, obviously, because I'm still living.
Yeah.
And there's some
Yeah.
things that haven't even came across my path yet that I have to like be like, okay, God, there's something new. I gotta, growing that.
Add it to
My
the
kids ain't adults yet, you know what I'm saying? So that's a whole thing. They're teenagers. They haven't graduated high school. They haven't went to college. Like, so that has level of parenting as well. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be more things that I have to learn. There's going to be more things I have to be patient with. My husband, what his call is. It may not look like mine. Like, it's just so many different levels. Our kids, their purpose and their calls may not look exactly like ours. You know what I'm saying? We know the point of it is God and it's Jesus, but how they get there, it may look different.
It typically does.
You know
look
what I'm
different.
saying? Sometimes what we call evil, God called good. You know what I'm saying? So we never know what God is doing. So just remain open, people. Just continue to remain open, because this is not something that's perfect. This is not. Although we have the word of God, it leads us. Yes, it tells us things, but there was so many things that Jesus spoke of that was not written down.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
the encounter of the Holy Spirit that we need daily.
Yeah. You're right.
The unspoken things, because now that instruction is towards you, is geared to you, is geared to me, it's geared to each individual person. And then it's going to be for that time and for that season.
Yeah.
So
that's
stay
good.
open. That's what I will say. Stay open.
And I just want to tap dance a little bit on that, staying open and redirect that back to what you said about our children. See, God says to raise up a child in the way that they should go. And we think that is our rules. Did you pray? Did you ask God, how do you want me to raise this one?
Yeah.
Did you ask him along the way? Because he says, teach them along the way. Because Jesus calls himself the way. Christianity wasn't called Christianity at first. It was called the way. So you raise them along the way.
Along the way.
You raise them by faith. You raise them by demonstrating faith. You have to live it. Children don't always hear.
Mm-hmm.
They see, though.
Yes, they
And
do.
what they hear is reinforced by what they see. See, God's actions and his words are the same, and ours should be too. If we want to know what type of parent we need to be, then we need to look at the main example of a parent. And we need to seek him like we seek for ourselves, for our children. And say, okay, God, because you know the gift that's in them, but you also gave them to me as a parent. I have authority over them, but I don't want to abuse my authority. I don't want to put tables in the temple of my children. So, God, how
Ooh.
do I raise this child? I may have 10 children. Each of them have a different purpose.
Absolutely.
Now, their purpose in cultivation, actually, sometimes people's cultivation is connected, but their purpose are two separate things. So God will use those kids to cultivate each other. You ever have a child and another child that keep butting heads because he needs them to cultivate one another, because where they're going to have to understand the yin and the yang of each other so that they can go forward, because you're not going to be here, and they're going to appreciate the back and forth one day. Okay. So we need to be looking and saying, God, how do we raise the child in the way that you need them to go? Not what I think is supposed to be. Now there's God said, give Caesar what is Caesar's and give God what is God's. Give God what is God's, right? That means, yeah, follow the laws of the land to a point, but not above God's law. So yes, maybe they need to be in school, maybe they need to be in doing this thing, but maybe your child is supposed to be homeschooled, or maybe they need to go to a different type of school. Maybe they need a different type of teacher. But that's just a small example. But how are you raising that child? Not in, I don't want to be my parents. This is not about you. This is about God entrusted you with a gift. He owed you nothing. See, that's his child. And he's trusting you with them. He's trusting you not to necessarily provide perfectly for them. He's trusting you with the heart to say, God, this child is bigger than me. Because see, when God created a person, he created them complex. He created them with detail. He created them fully as they are. And as they grow, just like Jesus grew, it unfolds different characteristics, different personality changes, different things. And they struggle with different attacks. And their attack usually will shine light on what the truth is about them. You don't want to be one of the voices in the attack.
That's right.
So how do I raise my sons when I'm a single mother? How do I raise my daughters when I'm a single father? God knew that you could do it because it wasn't always about them being male or female. It was about the purpose in them. God will give them the people that can fill the gap. All you need to do is keep showing up to the throne, keep bowing, keep saying, God, Jacob is going through this. What do I pray? The prayers I prayed for him at 5 are not working at 15.
That's
Jacob is going through this. You told me to call him Jacob. Why did you give me that name for him? Why did you want me to call him Jacob? What do you call him, God? How does your spirit pray? Spirit of the living God, show me how to pray for my children. And not just pray, but praise for your children. When the enemy wants to make you feel bad, make you feel overwhelmed, make you feel like that child don't have no respect for you, disrespect you, that's when you say, God, I just want to thank you for my outstanding child. I want to thank you for them understanding who they are. I want to thank you that they are God-fearing. I want you start claiming and decreeing and praise and worship. Because if they're attacking you, or you're being attacked in a certain way when it comes to being a parent, all you got to do is say, God, but how do you want me to do this? Because at the end of the day, this is your child. This is your person. This is your sheep. This is your purpose. This child is a part of the grand scheme of your purpose. And I don't want to fumble the ball. And I'm not going to do it perfectly, but I know you'll use my imperfections as a parent to still do the perfect work in them as well. So I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be willing to be humble, to be open, and to show up and to surrender. I need to be willing to grow in front of my children. I need to be willing to be broken in front of my children. And also they see me healed, not toxic, but healed.
Yeah.
They need to see me broken, healed, and whole over and over. As I grow and I change in different spaces, they need to see it. Even grown children, to people who have grown children, we still need to see you. Because when we see you, we see ourselves a little bit better. When we see you win, because Seeing your parents win just always does something for you.
Yeah.
Just like when you see somebody disrespect your parent, you feel bad. You start having insecurities. Look how they treat my mom. This is how they treat us. You start identifying with the way they break your parents. Consider the way you're talking, the way you're speaking, the way you're showing up. Are you showing up in the way that is called for you to show up for them because they are a part of your purpose? And if you're doing a purpose and it conflicts with your parenting, then you're not doing it correctly. God did not tell you to put them on the back burner. They are a part of the purpose. That means they hold rank. They not rank, but they hold a position in the purpose. They are part of it. They're not just your only purpose. They're part of it. So I wanted to go back to surrendering because we're surrendering. You have to surrender, and we're talking about families and mom dreams. And I want to bring up mom dreams, mom dreams, mom dreams, mom life to dream life, and what that book has done for me already as a parent. Like y'all are saying, just because you do good and do this doesn't mean there's not checkpoints that you need to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that book most definitely will give it to you. So I'm just trying to tell you, you going to laugh and you also going to be like, oh, man, I need to do something. And it's,
It came from a place of seeing things from a different perspective. So for me, I was the parent that was trying to be perfect. Like I wanted to do everything right. And I did not want to repeat some of the things that my parents repeated. Um, and because I was an avid journaler, like I wrote things down about my kids, about my experiences, what was happening, because I knew I don't know what I'm doing. But I also know that there's something here. I didn't know what it was. I just said, there's something here. And I think it's from that place of acknowledging that I don't know what to do, but whether it's in the moment or it's reflection, I can look at these situations from a different perspective. And that's why those stories I think are so impactful, because you all are reading those stories as they're happening, because I wrote those stories down when they were happening. That was real time stories.
wow.
But what you see at the end of it is, in this season, in the last maybe 3 to 4 years, how I look at those situations differently. So you are getting my I don't know what I'm doing and my fresh perspective all at the same time in those chapters. And then at the end, the questions allow you to look at your own life, because all of us have stories, whether you have children or not. All of us have stories that we don't look at through the right lens because of our trauma or because our previous experience or because we just don't know. A lot of the lessons I learned was because I lived them, not because someone told me the right thing to do. So I think that's why, because I will tell you, sometimes even when I go back and read the stories and I read what perspectives I put in the book, I even have a different perspective even now as my kids continue to grow.
Yeah.
And even as I reflect on my childhood. And it taught me how to give my parents a lot more grace and a lot more compassion, because they didn't have some of the tools that I had. They gave me their best. They dropped the
That's
ball
what
in some
matters.
areas, and that's a part of being a parent.
That is, child.
But it allowed me, reflecting in that way allowed me to give them a little more compassion and a little more understanding that, one thing I'm grateful for is y'all introduce who God is. Now, how you know God is totally different from how I know God, but I would not know him how I know him now without that introduction.
And I just want to say this really quick, and then I want to ask Tara something about it too. Is this book, despite that, I know it says mom dreams, but anybody can read this book. It is, you have to read it to get what I'm saying. I can't tell you everything because I can't. It's not. You have to read it. Like you literally have to read it. And my thing is, you because we're all nurturing a dream, a purpose. We're all parents to something or someone, a hope or an idea. And this just is relative to anyone. You can read these stories and see yourself in it from so many different directions. And when I say yes, it says mom dreams, but men, get the book. Get the book. And I'm not saying just get the book for your spouse. Get the book for her. That's cool. But also get the book for yourself and y'all read it together.
Okay, so it said where can you get the book? So it is on Amazon. So if you type in Mom Dreams in Amazon, it's there. It comes quick. Well, y'all's copies came quicker
Child,
than
mine-
mine. Y'all, it took so long for my author copies to come. Like everybody was sending me pictures, like, oh, I got it. I'm like, I don't have it. I still don't have a hard copy of my own book. But no, it's on Amazon. If you just type in Mom Dreams, it will pull up. Nothing else will really pull up. It's the only thing.
Interesting. Nothing else pulls
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, well, nothing that's directly related. They put like little things underneath, like maybe they meant this. No, they meant Mom Dreams.
For Mother's Day, you can. It's not. We passed Mother's Day because they tried it.
Yeah, they tried it.
Mom Dreams on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah,
But Tara, when you read it, what you've read so far, reading it and everything, child, how has it affected you as a
I
woman,
gotta
as
do
purpose?
one chapter at a time. Okay. I sit in my bathtub, my jet tub, garden tub, whatever you want to
You
call
go ahead,
come
Jets.
on, new jet tub.
it. And
I'm gonna buy
I
me some.
with my Epsom salt.
Come on, the soak, the
And
ultimate.
then I
box.
have
I
to
love how
take
you
this.
said Epsom
I take
salt.
this book in. I told them that my bathtub take all of me, just the way I am, my filth, my pain, my dirt. So that's where I sit and read.
Oh man.
So if I have a moment, but I am up to chapter Smother Mother, and I had to pause on reading the next chapter because. So for me, I came into my marriage with a son, and sometimes you kind of create this protective kind of thing over all of your children, but over that one that kind of come from different space, and I have to always surrender that space to get back to God, like because it's not who I am anymore.
yeah.
I've learned from that space. I'm married. My husband is present. Um, but I've dealt with abandonment issues, and sometimes I can be looking through the wrong lens when it comes to maybe raising him. Sometimes,
Yeah.
but I know God is doing what He needs to do, and
Absolutely.
my son may discover and may have to heal and may have to do some work when he get older or whatever. So Smother Mother, I had to like
My
make
heart.
some. I had to, and I make these decisions very often with God because I know I was like, okay, God, I'm not gonna be this, learning how to not be so critical, especially with our sons.
Yeah.
And I know, like, we mean well because we know that this world is not gonna treat any of us the same, but especially our African American boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a different lens that we put on when it comes to them because we just want them to be ready. We want them to be ready for whatever the world is, how cruel it's gonna be.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And you still have to stand 10 toes down in who you are, in your identity, and still show up as you. And so, reading that, I was able to like say something to him that I'm not gonna say I ain't never said it, but like with authority. I had to remind him. I said, "You are loved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You are heard. You're seen." And you don't always have to come from a place where like you don't have to succumb to nothing. Period.
That part.
And I meant that as mom, and I walked out. My mom.
I know that's right. Shoulders. Come on, shoulders.
So sometimes speaking to our kids on that level, like reminding them who they are too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is so important.
And so this book has reminded me to do that. Whether it's sometimes I'm gone before all my kids get up or go to school or whatever, but they have phones now, so I try to text them, covering their day, covering them. Sometimes we don't see everything, and sometimes everything ain't meant for us to see.
Yeah.
You
You're
know.
right.
God
So, it just has helped me with this parenting. And one of the things I have done, probably about surrendering my own life, I surrendered my whole family. That includes my husband, that includes my children. Because there's no possible way that I will know I have to seek God about them. Yes, but I can only receive whatever God gives me about them. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
there's just some things that's gonna remain hidden.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because He's God.
Yeah.
That's
And
that.
then
Yeah.
they, again, like we said, they have a purpose. They're gonna have to see God for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I have to surrender my family. I can only be responsible what I can be responsible for, and that takes a lot of weight. So if you are a parent, or if you're just a guardian, or if you're raising somebody, whatever, surrender those kids back to God.
Yeah.
Surrender your family back to God, because He is the ultimate knower of all things.
Yeah.
That
And
part.
you don't want to be stressed out behind something that you didn't create.
Now listen.
Whew.
I think that part
I
is
didn't-
so hard.
No matter in the making.
I was in the making.
In the making, God allow us to create, but ultimately that intention was His.
And
That part.
I think also because we want to protect them from so many things.
So many things.
So many.
And some of that protecting is a hindrance, and that's why Smother Mother was such a big thing
It's a
for me.
big
And
hit. It's a
it,
hit.
it was, and the crazy thing is, like, when they called me that, I was so offended and hurt
'Cause how dare you?
Because I was like, "Now, wait a minute."
Yeah.
You know, I am doing my best to be a good mom and be present. But I was stagnating their growth. I was smothering them, not allowing them. They have to have space for development and growth, even when they're young.
And to get dirty. Because
And
I
yes.
felt that part. Because especially when my kids were younger, they were, I called them little model kids, because it was just people always buying them nice things.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they had this particular fit on, it's like, hey, you better not give my baby no candy. Don't get him no ice cream. Don't get him no
Just take
sugar.
away the fun of being
You know,
a kid.
Drink some
So
water.
drink water. Everything is clear. You hear me?
Yes.
No colored. You know what I'm saying? But we
Yes.
rob them from being kids. You know, and so then you have kids who become, older or whatever. Then they have these OCD problems.
Perfectionist.
Don't want to share. Don't want nobody to sit on this. Sit on the floor. Don't dirty my. You know what I'm saying? They got company, and this is how you talk to your company. But I did that.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is you be like, be nice, and they look at you like, I know you're
Like, I
lying.
know you're not telling
I
me.
know
to be
you're
nice.
not to
I'm
be
like
nice.
this
Now
because
you
of me.
frightened. They give you that look like they can't say it, but you can see it on their face. Like,
Be like, you
so
know
we
what?
gonna just sit here
And
and
pretend.
pretend.
Like, the reason I am.
But
the way
I'm
that I
still
am is
working
because of
on
you.
it. I'm still working on
My,
the clean part.
my son got one of his cousins colored on his wall, and he said, "It's still there. They need to clean it up." And I said, "You're right, because see, if he messed something up, you need to go ahead and get the Okay, we're gonna get yes,
Get the
and
scrubbers.
get it."
Fix
And
it.
he like, so you just gonna let them. So and this is how we can feel with God sometimes. You feel like God be on top of you about this, but then you feel like he
Other
being
people
lenient.
with somebody else. Now listen, don't make me mad on this podcast. That's a pet peeve of mine. But look, what you did say, hey, that ain't none of your
That ain't none of
business.
your business.
But like Tara said, she said we don't see it all. But what Smother Mother did to me,
Mother was a
it
big-
did
it
something
was
to
a
me.
hit. It's a hit. I'm still at a pause.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
I feel like it
I'm
thing
at a
took me out
pause.
like a sniper because I was not prepared. Okay, I have all sons. That's all I. That's all I have. Okay, and
Uh-oh.
all I saw was, and you could do this different. And because I'm just bringing y'all into the middle of the conversation because, and you can do this differently. And it's hard. It's hard having children, but I think as mothers, it's difficult to have a son because at some point the man in them begins to override the boy in them, and the boy in them is not trying to disrespect you, but they're looking for someone else that looks like the man in them.
And they need
and
that.
they need that. And so you get to a place to where it's like, I need to respect your authority, but at the same time, mom, you don't get it. There's some things that you can't
Understand.
understand, and
Yeah.
this is the thing. I know what I need. I don't have a language for it because I'm a boy becoming a man, so I need a man to help explain to me what's going on.
Yeah.
You can't explain it to me because you're not a man. You can only tell me how to be a person. Tell me how to seek God, but you can't explain to me what I am because you're something different. You're going to explain to me your experience with what I am. You're going to, if I teach my sons how to be gentlemen, I'm teaching them, I can teach them how to be gentlemen. Like, this is what gentlemen do and da 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 da. But I'm still teaching them from the perspective of what I think a man should be.
Ugh.
Absolutely.
And that.
And
That right there.
that right there. But when a man comes in and teaches him how to be a gentleman, he's not teaching them how from the perspective of what he thinks a man should be.
He
He's
is a
teaching them
man.
from the perspective of, I am a man and this you are too.
Yeah.
And this is what we do.
Yeah.
Because there's some accountabilities that come with being a head born naturally that we don't have to carry. It doesn't mean that we don't need to be respected, but we need to allow space for men to just process things. For boys, our sons, respect the man that's in them. If they are saying, hey, mom, I got you. I came home from a trip and it was a long work trip and I didn't know where I fit in. You know how you be gone for so long, you're like, okay, everything's running and flowing and I'm feeling weird because I'm used to the one running everything, quite frankly. And everybody's running without me. Wow. um oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna vacuum. Did I need to? No. But I needed to do something.
She's like, I gotta find something to do.
And it was around Christmas, and I broke the lights on the stairs that we just put up, and I was like,
no.
and my son comes out the room. He says, and he's upstairs looking at me, so it looked even more judgy. It was just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just vacuuming. Saying, did you just come home from a trip? I did come home. But see, I need to. But why am I explaining myself? Because I knew I was I knew I needed to sit down. That's why.
Sit down.
And he's like,
I see.
so you're not gonna rest? Aren't you supposed to be resting? I'm like, I am. Why are you telling me what I'm supposed to do? He said, well, aren't you supposed to be resting?
Yeah.
You just came home from a work trip. You should be resting. I was like, out of the mouth of babes. Okay, son, thank you very much. He was like, do you need me to help? I could put it up. Are you sure? I said, well, I broke the glass, so I kind of have to go ahead and finish.
I gotta finish fixing. I gotta fix what I
I
broke.
don't want y'all to step on it. He was like, okay, so after this, you're going to sit down. Go back to the room that I pay for.
that part.
Go back to the room that I pay for. But I was explaining, I forgot for 2 seconds. That's my son.
Yes.
And he was putting me in check.
He got gathered.
He gathered me with his new deep voice.
And he wasn't disrespectful
He
either.
wasn't. What are you doing?
What are you doing? And that was, and let's be honest, didn't it sound kind of like God speaking?
It was.
What are you doing?
Absolutely. Because I'm sitting here responding like I respond to God. Well, God, what had happened was I was trying, but he was telling me, he said, but aren't you supposed to be, because we had just talked about, okay, you need to rest, don't start doing stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, I can do a little vacuuming because I like things clean.
But it was already clean.
It was
wasn't
clean enough and I didn't know what to do. I mean, the TV was off. I was just sitting there like, watch something. Like,
Do something.
watch something. Relax.
Which
I'm
means
just,
do nothing.
means do nothing. And I didn't know how to do that.
But let's be honest. In that space, when you talk, I gotta go back to that. When you talk about how everything ran smooth without
you.
Felt disrespected.
I'm gonna tell you, like, we are raising them to be independent and to be responsible and to do those things. But let's be honest, a little bit of our heart breaks as they grow and they need us less. And I think
Yes.
that was another theme in Smother Mother. I was seeing the independence growing, and it was happening a lot sooner than I expected. But that's what we want. I want him to be able to do things on his own and think on his own and recognize when something's off, even if it's me. As long as it's respectful. Let's be honest. But I think that's where many times we drop the ball because we desire to be needed and trying to find our place. because as they grow, their needs change. And I will say, for me, that was a big priority with my kids. I want to grow with them.
Yes,
I'm going to
absolutely.
always be their mother, but their needs are going to continuously change. So, how do I stay relevant? Yes, we have to stay relevant with our kids. How do we stay relevant with them? How do we continue to have place, even though what they need may change? And the part of that is continuing to grow with them, making sure that we're recognizing when they're doing better in an area. Not getting so used to getting onto them about something that we don't recognize when we don't have to get onto them anymore.
Child.
It's those things that if we continue to grow with them, we will always have place. It's going to look different because I
Yeah.
can tell you my life now. I don't know where my place is. I don't have one. And to do all that work and to not know where it is when that was your purpose and motive to begin with, it does something to you. However, I can say that in the time that I had, I did it. I did the thing. I grew with you. I made you feel love. And you can read in those stories that in that motive, because I was told like this woman that I met, she does with child development. And she said once they hit that 15, 16, who they are is who they are. Not saying that they won't grow, they won't change, but they are navigating life from this understanding, from this place. So anything beyond that is going to be life experience and God. Oh, anything from that was a big bug, y'all. And Tia Shada don't do bugs.
I
But
tried to stay professional. That's all I could do was lean back and be
but
quiet.
but guess what? But I didn't do the S bomb. I did good.
You did good. You did good.
Yeah. But
But I want to
yeah.
say you do have a place, and let me give an example.
Do not Tim Ross me right now.
It's coming.
Do not Tim
And it was
Ross
crazy. I just thought
me.
about Tim Ross.
Do not
Everybody,
Tim
y'all
Ross
all
me
been reading my
right
mind all day. All of
now.
y'all been
Oh
reading my
my
mind all
God.
day.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, you do have a place, and I'm going to speak from an experience of mine. So in it, you'll see what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So I have my one of my brothers has a daughter, and we're really close. I was part of her upbringing, and she was born before my children, and she went off to college recently, and all those things and all that. And through her upbringing, I had to figure out where was my place, because we have like a mother daughter type of relationship. I'm like her Tia mommy, you know, and what I had to learn was, okay, I'm a good example. I have to be a good example. I may not, I have authority when it comes to speaking life into her. I have authority in prayer when it comes to covering her because God gave that to me. But I don't get a say in where she goes and how she gets put there.
That's true.
So I have to let that part go. But what I can do is be a good example. This point on, when I realized it, was that I had to be an adult in her life that was a good influence and a good example, so that she will always keep the ability to choose identity. Do I want to be like my Tia? Do I see stuff about her that I can be myself? Or do I want to be this? There are so many different examples in the world. What kind of example do I want to be? I want to be the example that God calls me to be. So God, what kind of example am I supposed to be for her? So what I'm saying is you always have a place. And with our sons, and I also learned this with my brother, as he began to get older, I realized that I just had to be there to respect how he felt and then support it, but be honest if it was out of line. I'm not going to try to make your mind up for you. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to support who you are. And if what you're doing is going against who I know you are, I'm going to speak it to you. But my love for you will always be consistent, but I am not going to try to tell you how to think. The same principles that I've had to do with her, and had to do with him is what I am having to do with my children now.
Yeah.
They're all boys, so at 10, child, they daddies, child. They like, yeah, you can feed me though, but your opinion, that's cute. But so that's what I'm saying. You always have a place, because at some point it doesn't matter, because as when you think about our children that we have are kind of like my niece. They never really belonged to us. So all we really could ever do was be an example. So no matter what changes they're going through, your changes will always be an example, because you are ahead to where they are now. So your best thing to always be is the best version of yourself, because no matter if I don't think. So no matter if you get to see them in all types of processes or not, like Tara said, we don't see everything,
Oh, yeah.
but what they do, they see more than we do.
No, and
And
I agree with that. I think that for when I say I don't have a place, let me clarify what that means. That the influence is no longer there, and so that's what I mean by place. And I can't be anything other than who I am, because that's who I've been. But I want to clarify that when I say place, I'm talking about the influence that was there. That we don't know what that will look like.
Yeah.
And it may not return, and in having to have resolution that it will not. In those examples, there's still influence, there's still connection. And there are some times where you're in relationships where there is an interruption in that.
Yeah.
And so to pray for them, like to do the things.
Yeah.
But when I say place, I mean influence, meaning they may see, they would have to find it.
Yeah.
They may not. I'm going to
Absolutely.
be that person. But when that influence is removed, that removes that position,
that
you
position.
once had. And so I would say for parents,
Yeah.
I think it's so important that beyond being the example and apologizing when you're wrong, taking accountability where you fall short, which are all the things that we did.
Yeah.
Allowing space means giving up your position to allow them to grow.
Woo.
Yeah. So
Jesus.
you're saying, okay, I have put in all that I can in this season.
Yeah.
So I am literally giving up my position to say that whatever comes of this, my position will not be the same. If there is reconciliation or reconnection,
It will not be
it's never going to be what it was. But I have a book full of examples of experience that I can share with others. But that position is that specific position is no longer there. So that's what I mean by place, the influence, and the willingness to say, okay, Lord, I did the things that you y'all is the bugs. I did the things you asked me to do, and now it's really in your hands. You did the creating. Now you have to finish the work. So that's what I mean.
I understand that. That makes sense. Tara, do you have any questions for Bree?
The one question I had was the titles. Like I just was
Child.
What are these titles? And they're funny. They're funny.
They are.
And then when you read them, they do check you real quick.
Yeah,
they do.
You be thinking,
Absolutely.
off a title, you don't get one perspective. Okay, I'm gonna go in, and then it just
You think- so you thought-
baby. But how did you come up with your title?
I think
Yes,
that was the
ma'am.
point. So y'all know me. In a serious moment, I can tell a hard joke, and in a funny moment, we can get real serious. That's just our dynamic as friends, because we are friends. We are sisters. We consider ourselves sisters. But for me, I think the titles were to draw you in. And I enjoyed creating the titles. That was
It worked.
and for me, that allowed me to be creative, because I'm talking about real stuff. Like, these are real stories. All these things happen. None of these things are made up. So for me, it was like, what? What is it? What is it? Don't just tell me.
Every time you think you know what it's going to be, just let it go. You're not going to know. You're not going to know.
I think that was the joy of it. Like,
She
making
did
the
us wrong.
titles.
It was
But
good.
they relate.
It was good. It's
You
good.
relate. Let me read some of them, y'all. I'm gonna read them, but I will tell y'all like, okay, the weenie can breathe. No animals at the zoo.
Oh.
Skip a thieving ain't easy. Dang, my kids was stealing. They was
Whew.
really stealing.
I read
make
that one.
make friends and draw. Yeah, the ruiner, creepy mommy, born to put poop on the wall. That was one of my favorite chapters. So yeah, I enjoyed doing that piece because that allowed me to incorporate my humor,
Yeah.
and some of it is super serious,
Yeah.
and so that was fun for me. So I said,
I
"Oh, they ain't gonna," and I really did. Ah, they ain't gonna
You
expect
know.
this.
It was
So
chapter 7. I was rolling.
which one is thieving? Is that thieving ain't easy? Chapter
Even at
7,
ease. It's
y'all.
the it's
Chapter
the
7. Let's look, guys.
Yeah.
Also, this is Breanna Standifer's Mom Dreams book.
mm-hmm.
Yes. That's
So
one of the
if you
things.
happen to scroll on Amazon and you're looking for a cover, this is what it looks like.
Y'all, what
Yeah.
does that look like to you guys? What does that look like? I know it looks like to me. It looks like a window in space. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Looking out.
Yes, and if you look deeper, always look deeper.
Mm.
Always look deeper. There's a you know what? As a matter of fact, won't you explain that
Your
cover?
cover.
Because
Oh,
that's good. And she designed this, didn't you? You designed this whole
yeah. If
thing.
there were some edits done by the graphic designer, but that was the concept that I sent. And I have to be honest. I was like, well, I'll tell you the backstory was I was sitting talking to my husband, and I was like, okay, I'm not really sure how I want the cover to look. The suggestions are too simple, and they don't really capture the concept the way I need them to. And so he was like, all I see is shapes within a shape within a shape. And it's like a diamond or a triangle within shapes. And he said, that's all I see. And so he drew me a sketch of what he saw, and it was literally shapes inside of shapes. And I just sat with the shapes for a little while, and I said, okay, I wanted to have dimension. I wanted to represent process. I wanted to look like growth. And I want it to look like when we are processing all this information, we are doing the processing to look out. We in perspective is always represented through a window. How you look out the window, how you look at things, your perspective is going to impact what you believe, how you think, and how you make decisions. And it was those things and which why those questions are so important because yeah, it's great to read my story and laugh and feel checked, but what are you going to do now? Now you have to go and do your own digging and apply those lessons to your own personal experience. So that's what it was. So the flowers represent growth. I love flowers. That's the
I
thing.
love that.
I do not have a green thumb. I kill plants, but I love flowers. The window represents perspective, and the space. Let's be honest. It represents freedom. Like when you're in, it's open. There are no limits. There are no boundaries. And I feel like when we get to a place where we choose to look at our situations, no matter how bad they are, from a different perspective, it takes the limits off of what we can do. Like this was an impossibility for me. Holding that in my hand is the space. Like this was taking the limits off. The perspective is my life. Like I've looked at it through a lens and it doesn't work. How do I change how I look at the hard things?
Yeah.
And that, of course, that's not all the hard things, but I am being intentional
Child, I make up words all the time on this
about how I am looking at the hard things. And that's why I can stay connected, still pour out, still operate in purpose, and still move forward.
So before we start heading out, there's a couple
Yes.
of things I want to make sure I bring up, and I have some things for you guys that I want to present while we're on. But before I do, I want to ask Bree because I saw this question in the Mom Dreams group that's also on Facebook. Y'all need to go follow that, and also momdreams.org. I mean .info on Instagram, and I actually subscribe to the Mom Dreams website because it has a blog. It has a lot of other things on there, but like the book, you gotta go look at it and read it. Okay, there are so many things. It's just a community, and it's a hub for all of us. But my thing was is the question was is what's next? What's coming up? Because I know you have some things coming up, but I want you
Yes.
to say your business.
You want me to share my own business?
Share your own business.
Okay, y'all. So, I am going to do a book signing.
Bring your copy.
Yes.
Bring your copy. Bring your copy.
Bring your copy.
Oh my gosh. So October 27th, it's a Sunday, from 2 to 5. I'll be doing a book signing, and it will be in the historic Lancaster Square. They have an office loft there. It is very much revibes. It is me in a room. But for me, this is like full circle. Because y'all know the background of why I wanted to be an author. Maya Angelou and her life, and 8 years old, read her book. So it's also a
That's perfect.
yeah, it's also a celebration
Yes.
of completion. So the book signing is a part of it, but I want to celebrate with the people that have been riding with me. The Mom Dreams group, my friends, my family, my people, my circle.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's also a celebration. So we'll have, light bites and, wine, and it's an opportunity, if you don't know me, to get to know me a little better. I'll probably read some excerpts from the book. The Smother
Please
Brother
do.
is like this the chapter that everybody is talking about. So maybe I'll read some from there. But I will have a limited number of copies in person. But my suggestion is order your book on Amazon, because there's no guarantee that the book will be there, because it's going to be limited number of copies.
First of all, they're gonna be taken. Just order yours.
So order from Amazon. Of course, you'll see a flyer coming out in the next week or two to announce it. I'll create the event, but it's just going to be a celebration of completion and for what's next. Because I know the things that I am adverse to. I'm going to have to do those things, but creating spaces where we can come, be honest, be open, be vulnerable, be transparent, and share. But I also want other people to have the opportunity to do that. So that's why the blog is so important. We want to hear your stories. It's not just my story that's inspirational or impactful, it's your story. All of us
Yes.
have something that will
Yes.
help someone or encourage someone in their walk. And not just spiritual walk, but just day to day
Life.
life.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why I'm so glad y'all are here today, because that kind of reflects the heart of this for me. Just first off, we're human, and
Yeah.
some of us are humans that happen to believe in God. That just happened to have found the beggar, that one beggar that found that bread.
We the
Trying to tell
beggars.
everybody, trying to tell the
We
other
the
beggar
beggars.
about
We
that,
need the bread.
that bread is good. It had a little butter on it.
Nothing
Ooh,
but it was toasted.
it was toasted.
Listen, I think I'm gonna go with the man that was on the bed, want to be picked up. I think I'm gonna go with that story. And I wanted somebody to put me in a pool, but I said I had to get up and do it myself. So sometimes that's what life looks like. Sometimes.
We about to leave,
We about to be.
but I'm gonna go ahead and move this along because some tapped me. Ain't nothing supposed to have a hand. I got y'all see this hair and it's glowing. I don't want them to mix me up for a light. Shine, shine, shine on all of us. Okay, I'm done. But this is I wanted to ask you guys, and then I'm going to present what I have for you guys. But I wanted to ask both of you, now that we have surrendered, we've gone through the process, books have been made, people have stepped into new positions, Tara, minister, and other things, educator, special needs educator, Tara. Just there's so much, y'all. We don't got enough time.
And these bugs is bugging.
They bugging. I've seen you grow. I know you my co-host today, but there's something about your presence, my sister. I've seen you grow expedited growth. You have taken on challenges without batting an eye. You just keep living. You're consistent.
Yes, she is.
You're consistent showing up. When you ask God questions, you ask the right questions. Does that make sense? Because you could ask it from a certain heart posture. I'm so grateful for your presence, and I'm so grateful for your voice. Your voice has power. Your presence, it has power, but your voice. See, when Elijah was called out of the when he ran because the queen of whatever was trying to kill him and everything, and God was like, "What you doing up in here
In
hiding
the cave.
in the
Right.
cave?" And he said, "Come out, because the Spirit of God is about to pass by." And it was like a tornado or a fire, earthquake. All these things happened, and he said none of it was God. But then a still small voice came, and it was
It is so
powerful.
powerful.
You remind me of the still small voice. People take that for granted, but they don't understand what it takes to resist to speak in full volume. The grace to remove yourself enough to say what's needed without shattering. Because if you really decided to speak in full volume, if people really saw the power and the strength and what you give constantly, every day, relentlessly, they will understand, oh, she spoke in a still small voice. God allowed her to come in my life like a still small voice because I could not handle what she fully is. God has allowed us to see the color of you a little bit. And I say a little bit because I think you got some shades that we don't even know about.
Yeah, we know it's
You are beautiful. And I just want to give you honor and praise in front of the world because you deserve that. You deserve respect. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be loved. You deserve for people to ask, well, sis, how do I pray what you pray? Because I want to be where you are instead of envying you. Because envy is strong. I will not dismiss you. I respect you. And when you go through something, sis, I won't look away. I may not be able to do everything, but I won't turn my head from you. I will always pray for you. And thank you for showing up for me today, showing up for Bree today. You were so needed. And you've earned so many things in this life. And God has allowed me to just be. You saw something on me?
you're right.
Okay. God has allowed me to just be here in your presence, and it's a reward. It's not something I take for granted because you owe me nothing. God owes me nothing. You his child. So thank you. Thank you for showing me that you can say it, but you ain't got to yell it. And she didn't even tell me that. God said, you see how Tara just said, because she was telling me something one time. I was like, oh, okay. She said, oh, okay. Like to Leah Joy. She said, oh, okay. And all that meant said, okay, all that meant to me was, see, you don't want to listen and you don't want to receive it. And I'm not finna play with you. But I love you.
Oh, okay.
The still small voice. Oh,
Baby.
okay. Because
Okay.
you really don't make it become direct. Because the grace is the still small voice, okay? So thank you because you walk in move in grace.
Yes, you do.
And so what are you guys looking forward to now? Tomorrow, going forward?
Whew. First I have to piggyback on that because, yeah, um, the affirming must happen because you have been a rock in some hard places.
Yes.
How you pray, how you cover, how you shown up at my house and covered my family. Sis, invaluable. Just being obedient. So I appreciate how you show up.
Yes.
You
I thought you were saying to me something.
you show up and you have your own family, your own responsibilities, your own struggles, and I will tell you there are not enough words, not enough money, there's not enough anything that I could give, offer that would be at the value of just you being here and being my friend. So thank you for loving me unconditionally, for encouraging me. And even when I fall short, you okay me and we figure it out. So thank you for that. And Shayna, um, I've known you a long time, but to know you in this place is a gift. To see your growth, to see how you have developed as a mom, as a wife, in your gifts, as a speaker, standing firmly in who you are, and accepting the imperfections as this is just a part of the process. And even seeing how your do it anyway. Your do it anyway is more different than anybody I ever seen. Because you won't stop. If God said do it, I'm going to do it. I may be in pain. I may be tired. I may be frustrated, but I'm going to show up. We're able to be in this space because of your full year of do it anyway. So thank you for lending us this space, because this space is sacred and it has involved so much of sacrifice. Thank you. Thank you.
You do me like that, book.
Now, what I am looking forward to, we have decided in this space in these next couple of days that we are celebrating and we are reflecting. We did have to do some extra surrendering that we were not expecting before we got here. But I will say,
Pop up, pop. Go to the window.
God's funny.
Yes.
You think you're good until you're not. But I would say, I think the celebrating, because in the celebrating, we are thanking God for what He has done. So when we walk back into Globe Life tomorrow,
Globe Life, view from the throne. Mom, drink. It's all space.
yeah,
I just
when
heard
we walk
something,
into
sorry.
Globe Life tomorrow, it's going to be very much sitting in a space we were in a year ago and saying, look what the Lord has done. And my heart posture
It's gonna be different.
is pure gratefulness, pure joy. I didn't have any joy last year at this time. It didn't exist. There was none. But when they say the joy of the Lord is your strength, it really is. So I can go in that space and not have resolution on so many things and be grateful. And my heart is so full of joy to walk in that space and not be where I was, but some things still be how it was. And I think that's God. That I can sit here and have conversations about this stuff and not be in tears and a whole mess. That's God. To be able to say the impossible is possible and it's here with us as we talk, that's God. So I'm walking in like, I don't know how
I don't know
crazy
what
I'm
to-
about to be, but excuse me if I make you
No,
uncomfortable.
don't let my braids get caught in the chairs.
Listen, my hair might be pulled up. I brought another wig, so
Just 'cause you know.
or my hair is natural under there, baby. I almost brought a hat, but I said no. We gonna be classy. We gonna look good
Because the hair gonna fly
because the
off.
hat is going to come off.
I have to
But
braid my hair down.
my hair is braided down. It's a little too lip. Never mind.
I can't prepare.
Black butterfly
Listen.
kisses, by the way.
Listen,
but yeah.
yes, black butterfly kisses. She gonna kiss and touch and anoint that head.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm full of joy and I'm excited about celebrating and worshiping God because I would not be sitting here without Him. I'd be somewhere lost my mind, or I could be dead, if not physically, mentally, and spiritually, giving up on life, just done. So yeah, yes.
Oh yeah, something's coming.
Oh Lord.
Because
Alright.
now I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say my stuff because I'm gonna send it. So I told Tara how I felt. I need to oh it's coming. I told Tara how I felt. But you said what I've been thinking about you when you said this is a gift. When I made your post, first of all, the devil was fighting me. Let's just because it just kept. I said post. I said
It was buffering.
it was, but I said, come on now. But it got there. But I was struggling also because glory was moving around me. I saw God's light shining in the way. See, you know how God says He would give us more than we can think or pray for. I know what I prayed for my sisters, what I've prayed for all of y'all. But to also be a recipient of what's happening. In sight, in rubbing shoulders, and being able to cheer you on, like to see it. I felt like Hannah prayed, and now Samuel was here when I look at you. Yeah. Because I know what pushed you back. I'm very proud of you. You know what I know. I'm very proud of you. You could have just stayed where you were, showing up with the face, shining the light, being the moon instead of the sun that you are. Because, see, you before were just the moon reflecting light. Now understanding that God gave you your own light. When God said, Bree, you look like me, it's because you shine like he does. See, we all carry God's light, but God said, I made you like light. I made Tara like my grace, and I made you like my light. You shine like I do. This is why people gravitate to you. We're out here with these bugs gravitating.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And when I say it's getting darker, people about to see not just God's light, but they're going to see the Bree that was always in there. It's time. It's time for it not to be taken for granted. It's time for it not to be expected to be, well, you look like me. Right? No, 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 no. I've shined a light in that space. It's time for it not to be abused. It's time for God is saying, you have walked in a place of provision and faith for a long time. And now you're about to walk in a place of blessing and inheritance and in purpose. Because everything, and I want to say this to the people watching, everything that we do in provision, like I told y'all, prepares us for purpose. Because all provision does is teach us that things are bigger than us. And now we're walking in purpose, and I am proud of you. You did not have to show up. And me and you have had to share some hard conversations with each other. When no one saw us. People didn't see us. And then you brought Tara in here. And Tara see us. We see Tara. And we all recognized it. But we've all recognized each other. I'm so grateful for you two ladies, and this is why I had to do this. That's not on the thing. I forgot the college one. So I had to make you some certificates.
Oh, wow.
This is yours. And this is yours.
Oh, sis.
Wow. So, Tara, I was talking to Tara about Bree. I said, hey, I want to do something for Bree. And I was thinking maybe something this and that. And we ended up talking about a certificate. Wow. But how could I give one sister a certificate and not the other sister a certificate? I am honored of your presence. The first fruits I got to share with you.
Wow.
And 9 months have passed. Full gestation. Baby is here.
Baby is here.
And this is the certificate honoring them as the first guest and guest host on this podcast. It had no beat. Clearly, it was in my head.
It was in your head for sure.
Them bugs was like she clapping when they got to move around. And I just want to tell you guys and everybody that showed up and all the families represented here today, including mine, thank you for your sacrifices.
Thank you.
Thank you for the things that y'all have had to go through for us to be in this place. Thank you for seeing the dream. Even when you didn't see the dream, thank you for the things that you did see in us. Thank you for the prayers you've prayed. Thank you for allowing us to just be us. I know it's not always easy. God, having you support other people's dreams. But I can't wait until we are able to really show our gratitude on the level that God will allow us. Because let me tell you, this is just the beginning. And this is permeated in our history on earth and in heaven. This is another brick on the side of the house, Sam. And I also want to just thank Sam for being here. She has been helping us behind the scenes here today. She also was with us last year. Woo, Sam! She is just been, she helped. Oh Lord, because my back was backing, and Sam was like, "Okay, you sit down, and I'll just tell me what you need me to press and push and pull, and everything." And I was telling her to do something, then telling her she doing it wrong. She said, "You told me to do it." So I just want to say thank you for Sam. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your presence. And y'all, she looked good. Girl, she came in that dope glowing, cheekbones
Child.
just up. I was like, oh,
Who fine mama was
that
that?
coming into the door, right? So I just want to shout out to Sam for being with us again. Sam was the friend I was talking about that I met the day of Woman Evolve and made friends with. She's the one that I met the day, and she prayed for me. Sam didn't owe me no prayer. She didn't know me. Do you know what I'm saying? And she just started praying for me, and I appreciate that so much, because I just know how it's hard for, so especially when we're all introverts. That's what y'all seeing today, a whole bunch of introverts with some mics. Okay.
Who's finna be extra tired when we turn this off?
Oh yeah, and yeah. So, but I just wanted to make sure I give some gratitude to Sam. Thank you for today. Thank you for being with us last year. Thank you for showing up today. I appreciate you helping. I just appreciate you. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I give her a shout out, because she's been here with us this whole time. She make popcorn and everything. I think she over there, but she have been with us and then behind the scenes. And I just want people to understand, just because you're not seen does not mean that you should not be appreciated. And I want everybody that is behind the scenes in some space in life right now to know that you matter. You are doing more than what you think. And the time for you to shine is coming. So get ready. Oh, yeah, I looked at her. So I just want to say that thank you guys for tuning in. This is View from the Throne. I'm Lorenza Nicole Molina. This is.
I am Breanna Standifer.
And I am Tara Ross.
Yes, and I will put all the information in my description about everything that we discussed today, and all the pages that you can follow concerning them. But please support and follow all the things that they do. They do great things for the community, for their families, and just all around. You will see. Like I said, go look it up, go buy it, go all the things, click, subscribe, hit bells, all that, and share. We love y'all. Thank you once again.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time at the throne. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ooh, shine, shine, shine. That X is right there in the corner. Somebody said something late. Child, I don't know what they said.
I'm proud of you, ladies.